Welcome to Lazy But GK One-Liner, your smart stop for quick, easy, and powerful GK. Today's Class 5 covers the kingdoms of the East and Northeast and their important rulers and contributions. Let's begin. Section 1. Rise and expansion of the Pala dynasty. Question 1. Which region of the Indian subcontinent was primarily ruled by the Pala Empire? Answer. The regions of Bengal and Bihar in eastern India. Question 2. Around which century did the Pala dynasty rise to power in eastern India? Answer. Around the mid-8th century CE. Question 3. Who founded the Pala dynasty in Bengal? Answer. Gopala. Question 4. How did Gopala become the ruler of Bengal? Answer. He was elected by regional chiefs to end political instability and anarchy. Question 5. What was the early capital of the Pala Empire? Answer. Patliputra, modern Patna. Question 6. What was the main achievement of Gopala's reign? Answer. He restored political stability and centralized authority in Bengal. Question 7. Who succeeded Gopala as the ruler of the Pala dynasty? Answer. Dharmpala. Question 8. During which years did Dharmpala rule the Pala Empire? Answer. Approximately c. 770 to 810 CE. Question 9. What was the primary political ambition of Dharmpala? Answer. To establish supremacy over northern India. Question 10. Which ruler of Kannauj did Dharmpala defeat during his expansion? Answer. Indrayudha of Kannauj. Question 11. Which major North Indian power did Dharmpala confront in the tripartite struggle? Answer. The Gurjara Pratihara ruler Vatsaraja. Question 12. Which Rashtrakuta ruler defeated both Dharmpala and Vatsaraja? Answer. Dhruvdharvarsha. Question 13. Which Rashtrakuta ruler later invaded northern India during Dharmpala's reign? Answer. Govinda III. Question 14. Despite repeated invasions, what core territories did Dharmpala retain? Answer. Bengal and Bihar. Question 15. Which great Buddhist monastic university was founded by Dharmpala? Answer. Vikramshila University. Question 16. Where was Vikramshila University located? Answer. In present-day Bihar near Bhagalpur. Question 17. Who succeeded Dharmpala as the next powerful Pala ruler? Answer. Devpala. Question 18. During which period did Devpala rule? Answer. Approximately c. 810 to 850 CE. Question 19. Under which Pala ruler did the empire reach its greatest territorial expansion? Answer. Devpala. Question 20. Which regions were brought under Pala influence during Devpala's reign? Answer. Parts of Assam, Odisha, and Nepal. Question 21. Which Pala ruler is known for strong patronage of Mahayana Buddhism? Answer. Devpala. Question 22. Which ancient university received royal patronage from Devpala? Answer. Nalanda University. Question 23. Which Southeast Asian ruler sent an embassy to Devpala? Answer. Balaputra Deva of the Srivijaya kingdom. Question 24. Why did Balaputra Deva request land from Devpala? Answer. To build a monastery at Nalanda for students from Southeast Asia. Question 25. Which inscription records this diplomatic event? Answer. The Nalanda copper plate inscription of Devpala. Section 2. Administration, Society, and Culture under the Palas. Question 26. Which form of Buddhism was chiefly patronized by the Pala rulers? Answer: Mahayana and Vajrayana Buddhism. Question 27. What was the official language of the Pala court and inscriptions? Answer: Sanskrit. Question 28. On what administrative structure was the Pala state organized? Answer: a decentralized feudal system with subordinate chiefs known as Samantas. Question 29. What was the title of a provincial governor under Pala administration? Answer: Uparika. Question 30. What was the head of a district called under the Palas? Answer: Vishapti. Question 31. What was the main source of revenue in the Pala Empire? Answer: land tax from agriculture. Question 32. What was the dominant agricultural crop of Bengal during Pala rule? Answer: rice. Question 33. What was the religious composition of society in Pala-ruled Bengal? Answer: a mixed Hindu and Buddhist society. Question 34. Which artistic tradition flourished under the Pala rulers? Answer: the Pala school of sculpture. Question 35. What material was commonly used in Pala sculptures? Answer: polished black basalt stone. Question 36. What characterized Pala manuscript painting? Answer: fine lines, spiritual themes, and palm leaf illustrations. Question 37. Which regions were influenced by Pala artistic traditions? Answer: Tibet and Nepal. Question 38. What type of religious texts were copied in Pala monasteries? Answer: Mahayana sutras and Buddhist tantric texts. Question 39. What was the tripartite struggle in early medieval India? Answer: a three-way contest for control of Kannauj among the Palas, Pratiharas, and Rashtrakutas. Question 40. Which Pala ruler actively participated in the tripartite struggle? Answer: Dharmpala. Question 41. What type of land grant was given to Brahmins during this period? Answer: Brahmadeya. Question 42. What was Devdana land? Answer: land donated to temples or religious institutions. Question 43. Which famous Buddhist monastery was built by the Palas at Paharpur? Answer: Sompura Mahavihara. Question 44. Where is Sompura Mahavihara located today? Answer: in Paharpur, Bangladesh. Section 3. Question Revival 45. And later Pala period. What is the international recognition status of Sompura Mahavihara? Which important Pala ruler revived the empire in the late 10th century? It is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Answer: Mahipala IST. Question 47. When did Mahipala IST rule? Answer: approximately c. 988 to 1038 CE. Question 48. Which Buddhist scholar from Bengal later influenced Tibetan Buddhism? Answer: Atisha Dipankara. Question 49. Under whose reign did Atisha flourish? Answer: Mahipala IST. Question 50. What was the main educational system under the Palas? Answer: monastic universities such as Nalanda and Vikramshila. Question 51. Which script was commonly used in Bengal inscriptions during this era? Answer: Gaudi script. Question 52. Which riverine trade network supported the Pala economy? Answer: the Ganga-Brahmaputra Daltic trade route. Question 53. What were major exports of Bengal during Pala times? Answer: rice, textiles, ivory, and spices. Question 54. Which ports were significant in Eastern Indian maritime trade? Answer: Tamralipti and Chittagong. Question 55. When did the Pala dynasty begin to decline significantly? Answer. In the late 11th century CE. Question 56. Which ruler is considered the last notable Pala king? Answer. Rampala. Question 57. During which years did Rampala rule? Answer. Approximately c. 1077 to 1130 CE. Question 58. Which internal revolt was suppressed by Rampala? Answer. The Kaivarta rebellion. Question 59. Which Sanskrit text describes the Kaivarta rebellion? Answer. Ramcharita by Sandhyakar Nandi. Section 4. Rise of the Sena dynasty. Question 60. Which dynasty replaced the Palas in Bengal? Answer. The Sena dynasty. Question 61. Who is regarded as the founder of the Sena dynasty? Answer. Samantasena. Question 62. What was the traditional origin of the Sena family? Answer. Brahmins from Karnataka. Question 63. Which early Sena ruler consolidated power in Bengal? Answer. Hemantasena. Question 64. Which powerful Sena ruler expanded the kingdom widely? Answer. Vijayasena. Question 65. During which years did Vijayasena rule? Answer. Approximately c. 1095 to 1158 CE. Question 66. Which Pala ruler was defeated by Vijayasena? Answer. Madanpala. Question 67. What was the capital city of the Sena dynasty? Answer. Vikrampura in present-day Bangladesh. Question 68. Which royal title was adopted by Vijayasena? Answer. Arirja Chatmardana. Question 69. Who succeeded Vijayasena? Answer. Ballala Sena. Question 70. When did Ballala Sena rule? Answer. Approximately c. 1158 to 1179 CE. Question 71. What major social system was introduced by Ballala Sena? Answer. The Kulinism system among Brahmins and Kayasthas. Question 72. What was the purpose of Kulinism? Answer. To regulate marriage alliances and reinforce caste hierarchy. Question 73. Which religion did the Sena rulers strongly patronize? Answer. Orthodox Brahmanical Hinduism. Question 74. Which deity was especially revered under Sena rule? Answer. Vishnu. Question 75. Who succeeded Ballala Sena? Answer. Lakshman Sena. Question 76. During which years did Lakshman Sena rule? Answer. Approximately c. 1179 to 1206 CE. Question 77. Which Turkish military commander defeated Lakshman Sena? Answer. Bakhtiyar Khalji. Question 78. In which year was Nadi captured by Bakhtiyar Khalji? Answer. Around 1204 CE. Question 79. What happened to Lakshman Sena after the conquest of Nadia? Answer. He fled to eastern Bengal. Section 5. Cultural and social developments under the Senas. Question 80. Which poet composed the devotional work Gita Govinda during Sena rule? Answer. Jaydev. Question 81. What religious theme dominates Gita Govinda? Answer. Devotion to Lord Krishna. Question 82. Which other poets were associated with Lakshman Sena's court? Answer. Dhroi, Sharan, and Govardhana. Question 83. What was the official language of the Sena administration? Answer. Sanskrit. Question 84. What was the main source of revenue under the Senas? Answer. Agricultural land revenue. Question 85. Which cities flourished during Sena rule? Answer: Vikrampura and Nadia. Question 86. What was the dominant religious trend under the Senas? Answer: Vaishnavism within Brahmanical Hinduism. Question 87. What happened to Buddhism under Sena patronage? Answer: It declined significantly in Bengal. Question 88. What type of temples were built during the Sena period? Answer: Brick and terracotta temples. Question 89. What social development characterized Sena society? Answer: Strengthening of the caste system. Question 90. What role did women generally occupy in upper caste Sena society? Answer: Primarily domestic roles with limited public authority. Section 6. End of the era. Question 91. Which invader destroyed major Buddhist universities in Bihar around 1203 to 1206 CE? Answer: Bakhtiyar Khalji. Question 92. Which universities were destroyed during this invasion? Answer: Nalanda and Vikramshila. Question 93. What marked the end of ancient Eastern Indian kingdoms? Answer: The Turkish conquest of Bengal and Bihar. Question 94. What was the overall time span of Pala and Sena rule in Eastern India? Answer: Approximately c. 750 to 1206 CE. Question 95. What major cultural transition occurred between Pala and Sena rule? Answer: A shift from Buddhist to Brahmanical political dominance. Question 96. What artistic tradition continued from the Pala into the Sena period? Answer: The Pala-Sena school of sculpture. Question 97. What was the broader legacy of the Palas in Tibet? Answer: The spread of Vajrayana Buddhism. Question 98. What economic pattern characterized both dynasties? Answer: Agrarian expansion supported by land grants. Question 99. What administrative pattern did both dynasties follow? Answer: A decentralized feudal monarchy. Question 100. What cultural legacy did Eastern India carry into the Delhi Sultanate period? Answer: A synthesis of Buddhist scholarship, Brahmanical ritual culture, and maritime trade networks.